Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. So, look, man, some topics are above my head. Some things are just beyond me. I'm but as smart as I am. I consider myself to be a fairly intelligent individual, but I haven't done a whole lot of schooling, haven't traveled a whole lot. So, a lot of things I just know that I should listen more to in regards to certain subjects rather than really speak about. And I think that the subject that I am curious about is one of those subjects. So I'm coming into this conversation understanding my ignorance. And I'm coming into this conversation in hopes of being enlightened more so than looking to just express opinions that are coming from just a perspective that isn't involved nor aware of the facts. And so I'll leave it at that. But Larry Johnson tweeted some things today that I think would fall right into that category for me. Actually, this was 2 days ago. I'm just now reading these things. But a lot of people don't want to touch on the subject. I was listening to the Joe Budden podcast, and essentially, they didn't want to touch on the subject. They hinted that something was said, and they didn't talk about what context the things that were said, what was said, in what context. They didn't even tell us what topic the man was speaking on. They just said that they weren't interested in talking about it. So I was curious, and I went on Twitter, looked at what he said, and then proceeded to be kind of like taken aback by what was said there. So I have to paraphrase, and then I have to express the fact that some of the words that he used, I just didn't understand. I had to look them up, and I have yet to do that. So I just take the gist of what I understood and then provide questions. First of all, what I gathered is basically the man was saying, paraphrasing, use my own words, the NFL is on a mission to use NFL players, particularly, and he pointed out several things, but he used the NFL players across the board to push the LBGT community agenda and thus put them in a position to have buying power over the league. If my understanding of that is correct, they basically going to be able to earn money off the NFL and further push their brand, more or less, what their agenda. First of all, my question is, does it even work that way in terms of an agenda? Like, is it that kind of way? For the community. Obviously, any community wants to rise. Any community wants to monetize themselves, put themselves in a position of power, and then be able to make changes that'll help themselves. So, as a black community, I think that we've always shown people how to do that in this country, and I think that the LBGT community has taken that, the blueprint of that, and they're trying to apply it as they see fit. And as a person who's just looking on the outside, from the outside looking in, I'm okay with that. I don't really have any problem with it. I think when, as I just said, when you're in this country and you belong to a group, the game that's being played around you is the power game, is the money game. So why would I expect any group not to try to play that game when they're standing on this land? So, like, he was essentially, he mentioned the Masons. He said that this is a deeper, darker criminal link, more or less. He was saying that this is a higher power kind of thing, and they're basically trying to use the NFL and push the heterosexual culture out of the NFL and replace it with different things that would promote the LBGT community's culture. It's the best way I know how to describe that. And he was saying, more or less, get off my lawn. I'm a straight dude. This is a straight sport, and we don't need that. And my thing is, I don't want to be a fossil in this world. That's my thing. Okay? I don't want to be a fossil. 400 years ago, my folks was in shackles with no rights. Now I'm on this phone here, holding this device, expressing whatever ignorance I can and learning whatever I can with a freedom of speech that was afforded to me by the fight that took place before I got here. I don't want to stop anybody's progress. Just because I don't belong into their community, I don't want to stop their progress. That's why we have so many problems in this world today. People don't want to do deals with one another because they're too busy being dismissive of one another's progress. I'm a black man. There was a way for me to get to where I'm at. Why would I want to stop somebody from getting to where they're going? Why would I want to stop the LBGT community from getting to a place where they can have some power and some buying power and a way in this world where they don't have to feel uncomfortable in any way? Isn't that the point of what we're going for? The one thing I never ever want to do, and I always say this in different forms and fashions, I don't want to mimic the oppressor. Okay? That's my thing. I look at what they do, I realize that does not work for me, and I try to go another route. Keeping others down, putting people in boxes and placing them over there, or trying to keep them from getting their money or keep them from having their rights, is the oppressor's energy, man. And I don't want to live in a world where that kind of thing is continuing. So I can't go with it. Now, let's center ourselves to have some balance in this conversation. Could there be some merit to the idea that an agenda could take place, and could that be bad for those who are involved, for those who are exposed to it, for children? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do have questions about it. When you're talking about sexual energy and bringing forth sexual conversations, that is separate, in my opinion, than identifying a person's skin color, identifying a person's religion based on some of the things that have taken place. Now, I understand that fights are taking place everywhere in real time. People have lost their lives in all walks of life for everything under the sun that they've believed in. So to minimize one person's life because more lives were lost over here, that's only relative to how many people were actually involved in the fight to begin with. They may have lost few, but they had a few to begin with, that kind of thing. There may have been more lost over here, but there were more people. The point is, loss is a loss. And for everyone, that means something different, but more so something horrible. So it's respect to those who fought for every movement everywhere, and regardless if it's something I believe in or not. You put your life on the line, you believe in it, you're going forward, that's that. There's a sense of solidarity that should be amongst us all, understanding that we all are struggling for something, okay? But to get back on track, when someone tries to bring forth any movement, there's always going to be facets of people who are going to try to come into that movement and pervert the initial meaning. I've seen it with every single movement I've ever heard of. So even though few people come in with certain idea and a certain agenda, it does not mean that agenda will continue as the movement progresses and grows. So could there be something to what Larry Johnson's saying in regards to the negative aspects of having such a thing take place, or that even something like that could be in existence? A higher movement that tries to indoctrinate heterosexual culture with gay culture to monetize and empower those who are in the culture outside of the heterosexual culture. Sure, I don't know. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I think it's a conversation that needs to be had without the emotion of you don't want to hear anything that anyone has to say, in terms of like, you don't want to get to a place where you're not listening. Larry Johnson said some stuff that sounds homophobic. Right, identified as homophobic, but I've heard people say basically, okay, well, we should stop listening to the points that he's bringing up because what he's saying is homophobic. Maybe there's some truth in some things that he's saying. Maybe there's some conversations that need to be had in regards to what we are allowing entities to indoctrinate within our lives and within the cultures that we have surrounding us. Is this all for the betterment of us, or is this something that could take us down? Is it something that's going to tear us apart from the inside out? You know, are these movements going to be torn down by the greed that comes along with such entities changing as they grow, with different people having their own agendas within it? Could this be a bad thing? I don't know. But where I'm standing, I have questions, and more than anything, I would just ask a person like Larry Johnson, what happens now that you have brought these questions to the table? Do you think that you did good by shining the light on these things, or did you make it so that people have stopped listening to you, and maybe you had some good points for them to hear? Because all I heard and the only energy that I got from what you were saying was, I'm exposing what I think is wrong because I think I want to preserve what I have, and I think it's most important to preserve what it was that we've had. And I don't believe in a world where change is not adapted to, or where change is not embraced. Because if you're not embracing change, you're getting run over by it. That's the reality of it. And so if we're going to live in a world where people are trying to embrace their identity and embrace whatever the truth is to them on a daily basis, we have to try to take it upon ourselves to unlearn some of the things that was about the world that we lived in before it became what it's becoming. We have to unlearn some of that old shit. Basically, is where I'm coming from. You know, I'm just saying, I'm not in a position to really tell people what I think they should be doing with their lives, nor do I aspire to be in a position to say to have that right. I don't want to control you. What I want to do is learn from you, remember what my mother taught me, and continue to have interactions with people that are positive until my life is over. I don't want to stop you from getting what you want unless you're trying to stop me and mine from getting what we want. And I think that's the moral of the story. I think everybody has that ebb and flow and that resistance and pull with different entities around them. Everyone has friends, everybody has enemies, and the politics just continue forever. So am I surprised at what he's revealing or what he believes is taking place? Am I to dismiss it? I think the part of me feels, dismiss it, and the part of me feels like it should be taken a look at. The reality is, there's more to learn for me. And I think that there's more conversations to be had because of that. A person like myself who's far away from the community, far away from the conversation, and not privy to what's going on, needs to be made clear of what the intentions are from either side of this particular equation. Now that these thoughts have been brought up, now I'm curious to know what the NFL is up to in regards to breast cancer awareness, because that was brought up in regards to why the football players wear pink. That was something Larry said. He was basically saying that they want you to think that it's about breast cancer, but it's really about promoting what was said before, the LBGT community. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Why do I care? This is, from what he said, this is LBGT Community Month. Why wouldn't they want to promote their lifestyle? Why wouldn't they want to promote the culture and involve people? That's what I don't understand. And there's something else going on in the world, mimicking the oppressor and or the oppressor's energy. I don't know, but straight parade, straight community parade. I don't think that is done in a good spirit. I think that is something that is like reacting to people saying, hey, I feel oppressed. That's like some all lives matter stuff. That's that energy to me, that straight parade. That's all lives matter type of energy. Because to me, what you're saying is, yeah, I hear you saying that you want something from me. But what I'm telling you is, I'm just as disenfranchised as you because of your energy. No, that's what white people are telling black people. That's what white people are telling Mexican people. That's that energy that comes from that mentality, to where I'm sitting on my throne, but I'm more or less angry at the fact that you have something to say about it. So therefore, I'm going to put myself down here and say I'm eye to eye with you. No, you're not. You're straight. You're the majority. You're white. You're the majority. There should not be a day celebrating you because every day celebrates you. Black History Month exists because every other month more or less is White History Month. So as a straight dude, as a heterosexual male, I declare, so anybody wonders, this is what it is. I'm not rolling with the straight parade crap. That feels like some all lives matter energy. I don't roll. Let the LBGT community have their parade and their day and they get down and they whole nine. If you're not a part of it, you're not a part of it. But don't sit up here and say, well, we're disenfranchised too. See, that's the oppressor's energy. I ain't messing with that. That's off. That's not gonna come from a place of love. That comes from a place of, I'm gonna belittle your position. I'm gonna drown out your voice. I want you to get up off your knee and put your hand over your heart and recite these words that I wrote for you 400 years ago. That's that energy. Nah, I ain't rolling with that. So with all of this being said, I'm far from homophobic. I am. I'm a person that's been comfortable with my sexuality all my life. I've known who I liked and what I liked since I was 4. And so There's never no wavering of that. I can sit in a room with a room full of people that are not like me and feel like myself, because that's all I'll ever be. And I understand that not everybody has that feeling, has that mentality, has that sense of comfort within themselves in that regard. So if this is their way of finding peace, if this is their way of gaining that, of molding the world so that they can have a way to feel that way, why shouldn't they try? That's my question. Why should they not try? We're all out here trying to make the world what we want it to be, are we not? With our cultures and with our ways of doing things. Why should they not try? That's my thing. And if you don't like it, then do something else. But my request is that you don't try to drown people's voices out. You don't try to stand on high and then be offended by their request for more while they're beneath you, so to speak. I hate that energy with a passion. I want that gone. I'm not about that. And I hope that someone will listen from another world, from another country, in another space, and hear this American say that. Born and raised in America, but I am not about any of that energy that kicks people out or disenfranchises people or puts people in shackles. I would not want a world like that going forward. I think we thrive much better when everybody's just trying their very best. You know what I mean? Without the extras and without the hatred. I really think we're better off that way. But yeah, like I said, I did the best I could. This is a very difficult topic. I'm ignorant, you know that. But at the same time, I'm trying to learn, and I hope that as the years progress and as I continue to mature as a person, I'll get the information and have the conversations that allow me to have videos that'll be a little more informative and a little more informative and a little more informational. But if it's at this point, I'm just talking. And so thank you guys for sharing this moment with me. Whatever your community is, whatever you're about, just remember, when it comes to me, I want to see you thrive, so long as you're not trying to keep other people down in doing so. We all have enemies, we all have friends, but there's a solidarity that we should all stand and understand that we're here for a limited time in our bodies, regardless of how we identify, regardless of how smart we are, regardless of how sane we are. We're all here for a limited time. Your day could come, your day could come, your day could come. All of us are having our day at some point. Well, we got to leave this place. So when you watch somebody else go through whatever they're going through, whether you can relate to it or not, just remember they're leaving just like you are. So respect that. Respect the limited time that we have on this earth. But let people do what they do, man. Whether it works or not, whether it's for you or it doesn't really coincide with what you do. If you're on top of your game and your movement is strong and your people are strong, you will stand. You will not fall because other people are rising. That's basically where I want to go with this. That's where my soul is at. You don't have to fall as a community just because others are rising. That fear-based mentality is where racism and ignorance and all of that bigotry, that's where it comes from. There's a fear of that if others rise, you lose power. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. That's all I gotta say. We can all share power. There's a million places you can put a kingdom. Okay? We can all be kings. People don't have to necessarily be down. It's just designed that way. And it doesn't have to stay that way. Anyway, that's it. Peace. PDF.